How's it going? My name is Psionics, and this video is meant to, or these series of videos are meant to just be a kind of post commentary thing on my recent world record video that occurred on the 19th of July of 2022. Never done one of these before, um, so yeah, we'll see how it goes. But right now, I'm just generating the world, random seed. We're able to set the world evil, so Crimson is most optimal. Um, and yeah. Okay, so first thing is what I want to be looking for is tall trees. Uh, as you can see in the splits, the main objective, or I don't know if you'll see the splits in the actual edit, but the first goal is to make NPC houses. I usually like to start off with 5, because you kind of get the main essentials. You already have guide, so you want merchant, demo, nurse, and I guess dryad. That's like kind of a technicality. Anyway, you want more houses. Increase the NPC spawn chance. So 5 is probably like the ideal uh, room count. But anyway, here I found some trees to the left. Usually want to chop it around like 5. One tree per house, I suppose. And I kind of build up here, and kind of just make a platform for the houses. I go for a specific house setup, um, as you can see here. Mainly the one with the solid wood blocks. That house will consist of no walls, as you'll see here in a second. And that's just because we could just move the guide right in there. Because I'm not sure if I explained it well before, but when you put walls down on a house, that allows the NPCs to actually move in. If you so like I can make suitable housing with like just like one strip of wall through these houses, but they actually like won't move in. It'll be like very rare for them to move in. So basically, more walls equals more or a higher chance for NPCs to actually move in. So that's what I'm going for here. Nothing too crazy, just platforms uh, are kind of a substitute to doors. So we could just build the houses like this, 4x9 for each, I guess. So yeah. If you notice, I have a food buff. You kind of want to smack trees with your axe so you could get um, the tier 1 well-fed buff. I forgot what it's exactly called, but um, just a movement speed boost. I go to the right to find a cave, kind of a hill cave entrance type thing. Those are usually good. You probably want to go there because your first goal after making houses, if you haven't already, is finding 50 silver for the merchant to move in. Find a chest in the top right here near the crimson. Want to dig the explosives up so I don't blow myself up. And you need the merchant because he is actually a required NPC for the demo to move in. And I did not explain before, but demo is very crucial to the run, as you'll see here. Meanwhile, I'm also collecting gems. As I should mention, I'm playing on an older patch, version 1.4.3.1, where stained glass actually is more valuable than just uh like 1 gem. So like 1 gem equals like 20 whatever stained glass. So it's just like worth a lot more. Basically, they nerfed it in 1.4.3.3, so I'm just playing on a previous patch. Nothing too crazy here, just making sure to conserve my one dynamite explosive. I believe that's what I conserve. Uh, Definitely want to be going for heart crystals here because health is definitely important in the later game. Stumble across a nymph here. Uh, Very good source of money. Not really the most efficient way to kill it, but you know, it's not really so much about speed in the early game, just a matter of getting the supplies you really need for uh later game. There's a lot of decision making that could happen on in early game. So for one, um you don't have to start off with houses. You could maybe if you find like a cave immediately, like when you spawn, you could just like YOLO it and see if you can find money quickly and bombs to blow up some trees. So you don't need to actually chop them down. Instead of going into a hill cave, you could opt to go to the jungle, which has I feel like it has a larger loot pool than like most regular caves. Um, which will of course net you a lot of money when you sell them. However, it does feel like that gems are more rare. So jungle start is probably going to be something we do in later patches, specifically when 1.4.4 comes out. So yeah, as you can see, we got the merchant at around like a little over 6 minutes. Definitely not the greatest time. Usually I like to be out of the caves by 8 minutes. I believe I exit at 9 minutes here, but yeah, you really don't want to be hanging too long in the caves after demo comes in because you really need to get the ball rolling with the elevator and other attractions in the run. I'm saving my heart crystals so I could let the demo move in before Nurse because Nurse has priority over demo if you were to, use a heart crystal and have explosives at the same time. Nurse would move in first, and we don't want that. Seems like I'm just exploring some caves here, getting any bit of gem I find. Because right now I'm just waiting around for the NPC to move in. There's not really much I could do outside of this to speed up the process. And there he is. And I go ahead and use my hearts. Band of Regen, definitely good. Yeah, I should mention the potions. Some crucial potions include, I just got it here, Archery, Featherfall, uh, and I guess Graph. Not really so much Graph, but yeah, Featherfall and Archery are pretty good. Um, Later in the run, it's a lot more ranged-based combat, um, and basically we used a Hallowed Repeater. I shouldn't talk about it too much here, but that's why the Archery potion is good. And Featherfall definitely helps a lot with vertical movement and, just overall survivability when fighting bosses. Using a sticky bomb here. Don't be afraid to use the gel. Yeah, I should have headed back then. But yeah, here we are. Here I just extend out the platform because this below here is where I'm going to be starting my elevator. I equip myself with a hook. It's a topaz hook, not the best. It's a second, or maybe the third to worst. It's amethyst and then the normal hook. I feel like it's around that category of hooks, I guess, in terms of usefulness. But anyway, I sell some items like platinum bars and silver bars and some other things I didn't catch, but right here I bought 13 dynamites because I'm gonna go well, first I'm gonna get some more wood here with the spare bombs I have, but with the dynamite I'm gonna go collect some sand so I can make glass walls for, as I mentioned earlier, the stained glass that you use with gems. Usually around 10 or so dynamite is sufficient. Um, yeah. Let's use some recalls. Didn't really have a need to conserve recalls, but in case I did, I would just, exit the world and rejoin. Here, craft a furnace so I can make the glass. I should also mention, if you see in the bottom left corner, my FPS is at 125. I achieved this by uncapping my frames, and I did that through a NVIDIA control panel setting. As well as being on full screen, non-borderless window, which is allowing me to, craft things and purchase other things at a faster speed than normally. Here I'm starting my elevator, just, throwing down dynamite. Nothing too interesting. I want to get around like a stack and a half of dynamite. That's usually how much you'll need, maybe less to finish the elevator. It's worth mentioning that it's not necessary to finish the elevator on night 1. And I'll explain that in a bit, but it has to do with moving the guide, or more so being able to move him during the day as opposed to nighttime. The way you're able to normally move NPCs is that during nighttime, they'll want to stay in their homes. Or if it's raining or if there's like an invasion going on, they'll want to stay indoors. So what we do is we can make new houses and move NPCs, and once we go off screen, they'll just automatically teleport back to their designated house that we set. So that's my goal here right now, is to move the guide into hell. And the reason I'm doing that is so that he's there when I'm ready to fight the wall of flesh. That's a new feature in 1.4. Instead of having to, sit there waiting for a voodoo demon to spawn, we could just sacrifice the guide himself into the lava to fight the wall of flesh that way. Right here, I'm gathering some obsidian because I'm going to need some hellstone during the run. Usually around 40 to 50 is good. You'll want enough for a bow and a pick. Yeah, I felt the need to stop throwing dynamite there because there was already a path down to hell, so I could just walk there instead of wasting my time with the dynamite. And here I was just looking for where relative to the horizontal, I guess, spawn point, I would want the house. So I'm just gonna put it to the right of the spawn point, which means that when I fight Wall of Flesh, he'll be approaching from the right and moving left. And here I just make a house. If you just have platforms in that sort of pattern, I guess like an 8 tall house, 8 block tall house, I don't know. I didn't really count, but uh, you don't have to use walls. You could just move them in like that. Of course, you will need a light source and a chair and a table. But yeah, that's just like another example of building a house without walls or doors, for that matter. All right, so this next step, I'm going to want to collect a little bit of vertebrae and deathweed. A little bit for battle pots, but mainly for a boss summon that will be used during the run, which is required for progression. So usually around 4 to 6, maybe even 3 to 6 vertebrae is good. Because you'll be able to earn a little bit more if you're not too unlucky when you're farming for souls, which we'll see later. I want to collect some crimstone here to, you know, help with the souls, because crimstone likes to spawn, you know, crimson enemies, and we will be needing, you know, ichor. Which is a hard mode material dropped from Icarus stickers. And yeah, we'll be needing that for our arrows. That I will be making for Repeater. A little bit of detail there, but just know that Ichor is important. That's why I'm grabbing the crimstone. Here I'm stalling for a bit, just so I could collect some vertebrae. I'm a little bit low. I even opted a battle pot. Generally, I think if you have at least one and you exit Crimson, you probably shouldn't use the battle pot, because you're gonna want to save that for when you're farming souls. If you have two, then you could go right ahead and use one to farm like additional vertebrae or even lenses. As you can see here, I got a burger, which is a exquisitely stuffed, which is a tier 3 food buff. I believe it's like 10% increase in damage, it's increase in health regen. It's just very good to get. Pretty lucky drop. So I came out with 8 vertebrae, which is very good. I'm in good shape for, I guess, the summon for hard mode. But right now I'm just, you know, hooking my way towards the dungeon, using the hook a lot because, you know, it puts me a little bit ahead than if I were to just be walking. So yeah, that's another thing. Movement is a little like weird, I guess. Not really weird, but you kind of have to earn it and be lucky. But let me explain the Skeletron fight here. So Dynamite is just notoriously broken, so it kills things quickly. And that's what we use against Skeletron here. So as you saw there, I started out by throwing like 4 Dynamite before the fight, and then I went up into the edge and just threw Dynamite there, kind of like predicting where Skeletron will be moving. Also taking care to avoid blowing myself up. I also use the music to help me a bit on the cue, so there's a little bit of an audio cue. You'll have to take a listen for yourself to know what I'm talking about. But right here I'm mining dungeon brick. And remember when I was talking about moving NPCs during the daytime? Well, when they added the mechanic to Terraria, they didn't want her to just, die off in the dungeon. Like you leave her behind and she just dies off because or like dies off screen because of a skeleton. So what they did is they just made her teleport immediately while she's standing on the dungeon surface. So this was actually a recent discovery. We abuse this to move our NPCs. If they're standing on dungeon brick, they will just move as if it were nighttime. Very convenient for finishing up a elevator and moving guide day 2, and not versus waiting for nighttime. Here I'm kind of just having moved just a little bit off screen from the floor here, blowing up the spikes as well, which allow these skeletons to spawn, because I will be needing 30 bones for another boss summon in hard mode, which is also a required progression thing that I need to do. The water candle and the battle potion synergize well with this enemy spawns. Just want to pick up some spare water candles for myself, probably during souls. Water bolt, probably sell that. Mechanic is good for definitely like the late game. It's best to pick her up right here though, because we'll be needing her actuators, as well as wires and some other things. Cobalt shield, definitely good. Don't have to worry about annoying knockback when trying to build up setups. And yeah, that's like pretty much all you really need. Just 30 bones and mechanic, and you're pretty much set. I kind of stalled for longer because I had, spare golden keys, and I wanted a cobalt shield. Which I should mention is probably this, like most of the time, the second chest you'll find it in the dungeon. So like the first chest will usually be either a gold chest or a brown chest with Muramasa. And so the second one will just be a cobalt shield. But I found a gold bird to the right, which is huge. Basically, you could craft a food that's known as the Golden Delight, I believe. And that's 48 minutes of exquisitely stuffed. So the burger that I picked up, that only lasts 8 minutes. And that's tier 3 food. This that I just picked up, I could just cook it up in a cooking pot, and that will be 48 minutes of tier 3 food. So that will pretty much last you from the start of, if you're like a top player, it'll last you till from, I guess, the start of mechs till like the end of the game. And then right here I'm just about to set up the WAF bridge. Usually want to spend around maybe 200 blocks, something along the lines. But don't be afraid to build more, especially if you're starting out. I believe I had a builder pot in my piggy bank, but I must have forgot to use it. Or maybe I just didn't feel like placing the piggy down. Another thing I forgot to mention is that somewhere between, I can't exactly remember when, but before I came down here, I filled up my water bottles. That's something I usually forget to do. Then I have to go back up, and it's just time waste. Making little fall offs here because the terrain. Have to work around it. Should also mention that while buying dynamite, I also bought grenades. Usually like 2 or 3 stacks works. Yeah, they do a lot of damage, and you could just chuck them at the enemies. Of course, you will have to keep your distance, but they're really good. It's a good bang for your buck, I guess they would say. Okay, I guess I'm satisfied with my bridge here, so I go back and prepare to fight the boss. I want to make sure the guy dies in kind of a shallow pocket of lava so that the wall doesn't spawn all the way down where he's just unreachable. I'm not sure if they fix that, but just to be safe, that's what I do. And I kind of throw my dynamite kind of like an angle here, and I guess when he's like, I guess I should probably rewind here a bit. Just kind of want to explain this in detail. So here I take the courtesy to, build a little bit forward, and when the hungries are like just about to touch me, probably like 5 to 6 blocks away, when they're like out the most, I start throwing dynamite at this angle that I have my mouse in. When he goes past half health, you kind of have to like extend, I guess, go farther away and then throw. You kind of have to like pace yourself after the fight, but yeah, I've slayed the wall of flesh, and I've crafted myself a obsidian skin potion. And the ingredients for this is 1 water bottle, 1 obsidian piece, 1 water leaf, and 1 fire blossom. The water leaf you should take care to collect when you stumble across the desert. And the fire blossom, I guess, is something that you could either look for before or after you kill the wall. The reason we use that is so we could just get easy hellstone. We could just submerge ourselves in the lava, no pain. Forgot to mention, I did get a ranger emblem, which is very sweet. In this particular patch, that's a 1 in 8 chance. In recent patch, 1.4.3.6, it's a 1 in 4. So the odds were definitely in my favor this run. The reason I'm blowing up Hellstone now is because during hard mode, or before hard mode, Hellstone is immune to explosives, so you can't blow it up. But once you're in hard mode, you could just blow it up. You don't need to go out of your way to get a pickaxe that's able to mine it. Here I craft myself a Molten Fury and a Molten Pickaxe. Gonna need those to defend myself during hard mode, as well as to mine the hard mode ores. I think I'll stop the video once I recall from souls. But basically here, I'm just placing a spawn platform for the enemies to spawn, removing this torch to be able to give myself better luck with crimson torches. And I place around maybe, yeah, it looks like 7 to 8 blocks. And then I place a chest up here, just high enough so that it doesn't blow up the platform below. Because when you throw dynamite at a chest, the chest itself won't explode. so the blocks below it also won't, so you could just keep throwing dynamite at it. Place a water candle to increase my spawns, and I think I'll be using a battle pot here in a second. Thanks to the Molten Fury, I'm able to defend myself against the Icarus sticker. Another thing, if you place walls in front of you, you won't have any pesky enemies going through walls and just like annoying the crap out of you. So that includes like Crimson Axes and I guess they're called Cursed Axes, but yeah, them and also Floaty Grosses. There's the battle pot. And yeah, I just go just enough off screen so that like the edge between the edge and the chest is like 3 or so blocks. And then they kind of just start spawning like crazy. Now to the sides, you'll have a little bit of enemy spawns. Not really much you could do about that. This part you kind of just like have to hope that it goes well and that you just don't get absolutely destroyed by the game. Here I get a pretty lucky mechanical worm drop. Usually I want to go for 9 souls, but the mechanical worm costs 6 souls. So I'm able to just, you know, skip the 4 that I would need if I didn't get it. It's very, very rare to get those. To briefly mention, to the left there was a Crimson Mimic. I did not want to go for it. The useful item that he drops is a dart pistol, but that's a 1 in 4. Dart pistol has insane DPS when used up close. Particularly against mechs and Plantera. But I felt that I didn't need to go for it. Here I move along to the, I guess the Hallow? Yeah. And I kind of build like just high enough so that I could see the hell background. I guess if you're playing on low graphic settings, it would be if you see the natural cavern background. Just like a little bit there. Maybe like, looks to be around like 6 or 7 blocks worth of, you know, hell or like lower cavern background. If you know what I mean. I'm able to use some of the terrain here to place a chest. A little bit of mining. Not sure if I explained well before, but if you place the appropriate torch in its respective biome, so like a crimson torch in the crimson, underground crimson, or hollow torch in the hollow, you'll actually gain an increase in luck, which is an invisible stat that affects crit rates, drop rates, and the like. And our goal is to get souls, light souls, and increasing our luck is definitely what we want. To briefly go over, you need 6 light souls for the mechanical eye, 3 night souls, and 3 light souls for Skeletron Prime, or the mechanical skull, and 6 night souls for mechanical worm. Luckily, mechanical worm was the drop I got from the night soul farm, so I didn't need to get any more. I already had 3 for Prime. But it looks like here I'll need to get all 9 souls of light. And again, it's a little bit finicky the way soul farming works. Sometimes it goes by really quickly, other times it could be a drag. it could range from about like a minute and a half to like maybe 4 minutes or something like that. I should mention, whenever you have access to, or easy access to the traveling merchant, be sure to take a look at his wares. He might sell either pho or I forget the other food item it is. Or even sake or sake. I think that's how it's pronounced. And first of all, the food items, those are tier 2 buffs, which is good if you don't have tier 3. It's mostly what you want for late game. So definitely buy those if you get the chance. And sake, or sake, I guess, that's a melee buff. It gives you 10% increased melee damage at the cost of some defense. And that's useful for, like, I guess, Pillars and Moonlord, like the last part of Pillars and Moonlord. Because that's usually where you use a melee setup. Right here, I'm smashing altars. Or I'm going to go smash altars for some hard mode ores. There are 3 hard mode ores. Usually it's either cobalt or palladium, not titanium, mithril or orichalcum, and adamantite or titanium. Usually like 2 or 3 sets of altars are good to smash. Another thing I want to mention is that if you happen to not get enough night souls during the soul farm, you may be able to use the wraiths that spawn to your advantage. If your crimson is low enough, you could just kind of set down a dynamite and blow up the wraiths and hope they give you the extra souls that you need. But I'm gonna stop it here. So yeah, I feel like my commentary was pretty thorough. Let me know if I was unclear in certain parts of my explanation. But yeah, that's part 1 of part 3, I've decided. So yeah, I'll see you soon.